Hey everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Darth Carnivore. My name is Charlie, and in this video I am going to overview how I did in terms of eating and exercising this week on Carnivore, as well as some of what I fed my dog Maya. And then I'm going to go over some of my DEXA scan results, as well as my resting metabolic rate, or RMR, test results, and what I intend to do with those results going forward. And then I'll go over how I plan meal prep for the week ahead. So this is my Monday meal that you're going to notice that it's repeated a lot, or the same types of food, but a couple strips of bacon, 6 eggs over medium on 3 third-pound grass-fed beef patties, 80% lean, and then a couple of ounces of air-fried beef fat trimmings, and then I just have water with unflavored electrolytes to drink in the morning. But my fasted blood glucose is 102, and then my fasted ketones are 1.5 millimoles per liter. I should mention that these are done after I do 150 push-ups and 2.5 minutes of the plank hold position first thing in the morning. So, roughly 10 to 15 minutes later, I am taking my fasted blood glucose and ketones. So I should mention that in the context before I eat my meals. These are what my macros look like for that one meal. So Monday it was just one meal a day. I get about 2,500 calories total, most of it in fat, and then protein, and a tiny bit of carbs from the whole eggs. My blood glucose and my blood ketones remain virtually unchanged 1 hour after my last bite. And this was, I think I walked the dog, Maya, in between my last bite and taking these readings. About twice a week I like to do HIIT classes, or high intensity interval training, or HIIT. Did pretty good workout here, for about an hour. I burned 400 or 584 calories, but preceding the HIIT class I did some interval sprinting on the treadmill just to get myself warmed up. So for about 10 minutes, burned about 130 calories, did 4 sprints in between. So usually my sprinting, it's about a 6-minute pace, which is pretty fast for me, for about 30 seconds with a 10-second cool down each time. So yeah, I like to work out with these HIIT classes because it forces me outside of my comfort zone, and that's where you really, really grow in terms of physical fitness. Tuesday's meal pretty much looks like Monday's meal, almost to the T. And then blood glucose and blood ketones, fasting and post meal, are about the same as well. I didn't do much Tuesday as far as exercising, except I took a long walk while I was at work, and then I did some dog walking in the afternoon, shirtless, to get some vitamin D. Oh yeah, Maya, is this pork belly? Is this your favorite? What do you think? Oh yeah. Is it good, Maya? Hey, smile for the camera. All right, Wednesday's one meal a day pretty much looks roughly the same as Monday and Tuesday. Instead of scrambled eggs, I had eggs over medium. Blood glucose readings and ketones behaved a little bit differently. It started out or actually stayed in the 80s the entire time, and then I did 1 hour, then 2 hours post meal. I was still in nutritional ketosis the entire time, which is a state where your body is burning fat for fuel. So before my meal I was in a fat burning state. After my meal I was in a fat burning state. I don't think my blood glucose ever got into the 90s there. So that's how I control my diabetes, or put my diabetes into remission. All right, so Thursday was a little bit different for me because I was only doing a half day of work, and then I had some went in to get my DEXA scan and a resting metabolic heart rate test. So I purposely did not exercise in the morning, and my blood glucose was 72 with ketones of 2.8. So firmly in nutritional ketosis, a pretty deep fat burning state. And then after I took my test, my and ate my meal, my blood glucose was, only got to the 80s, but I was still firmly in nutritional ketosis at, zero point 0.5 and above millimoles per liter there. So I'll go over my test results, which are kind of interesting. All right, so I took a resting metabolic rate test, and what I found out was kind of interesting. So, of course, I'm still, in terms of BMI, classified as obese, but I have a lot of, muscle mass for my size. So, for context, I'm 5'7", about 225 pounds right now. So, my resting metabolic rate was measured at 2506, and most general population level equations would have me at maybe 2,000 calories at most at resting rate. So mine is a good 500 calories higher than predicted for my age and in height. So that was pretty cool, knowing that as I've lost 100 and maintained 185 pound weight loss, my resting metabolic rate is still pretty high. I never took one before, when I was 410 pounds 3 years ago, so I don't know, what my baseline was, but, the test said I was faster than, other people with my height and weight. The other thing that was kind of interesting about the resting metabolic rate was my RER score. So this tells you, what kind of fuel mixture you're using when you're at rest. So, for me, I have an RER of 0.71, which is almost pure fat burning. So, as you can tell with my blood glucose and my ketone results, I'm in a keto and fat adapted state. So that's not a surprise there, but it's good, confirmation to know that, all of any part of my body that can use fat is using fat, and then a derivative of fat are those ketones that my body is also using as well. So at any given point, my body is flexing fuel usage between fat, ketones, which are a byproduct of fat, and glucose. So, like red blood cells, some parts of the brain need glucose, and my body's able to use that as much as possible. Now, on the right-hand side is my DEXA scan. So, the main thing here is, total body fat percentage at 21.4%. So, like I said, I weigh about 225, and that day I was 224.8. So 48 pounds of fat tissue, with 1.25 per pounds of that being visceral fat, so the rest of it being subcutaneous. I think going forward, when I retake the DEXA scan in about 12 weeks, I'd like to see that visceral fat drop down, a quarter pound to 1 pound or less, and then I'd like to see my body fat mass, see if we can get that down to 19%. So the way I plan to do that is keep my protein at about 120 to 150 grams for now, but then slowly taper some of the air fried beef fat trimming, so that way my body knows that it is metabolically safe, that fat is coming in, but slowly each week we'll start using a little bit more of my stored body fat, since my body's primed to use that. The other thing that's kind of interesting about the DEXA scan is my bone mineral density. So my Z-score is 2.4, which puts me in the 99th percentile for males in my category. So that far above normal bone density range, so no risk of fracture or brittleness. For context, the z-score can go down, into the minuses. So if you have like a minus 2.4, minus 2.6, that puts you in the osteopenia, osteoporosis range, which is what we don't want to get to when we get older. So very insightful, and there's room for improvement, obviously. So Friday was another scheduled half day off. So I had, my lunch at this point. Still my pretty typical meal, egg scrambled. I forgot to take a fasting blood glucose and ketones, but 1 hour after my last bite of this lunch was, blood glucose was 80 and ketones were 1.2. I also did not fast or exercise on Friday, so that might explain why some of my numbers look different than earlier in the week. So Saturday is usually the day I push myself the hardest in terms of exercise. So, I do my 150 push-ups, a couple of minutes in the plank push-up position, dog walk in the morning. Then I'm also doing like a cycling class for an hour, followed by like a choreographed strength training class, hitting the sauna, and then getting home to my meal, which in this case is steak. I found steak for the right price and the right thickness, so I cooked myself a bit of that instead of the burgers. And then, my dog Maya there is making sure no one is taking my food. I have my symphony of air fryers going here. So I have this air fryer is cooking a ribeye steak sous vide. So that's going to be ready in about 15 minutes. And this air fryer is cooking my frozen beef fat trimmings. Never cooked it on this one before, so I might have to play with it a little bit because this one only goes up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, let's see what this air fryer steak looks like. All right, not bad. Not bad for just salt seasoning. And this was dry brined for about 72 hours previously. And here's my mini attempt at Sean Baker eating steak. Who wants some medium rare ribeye steak? What do you think about that, huh? I know that's not your meal for the day, but it's just a little appetizer. Since we're both carnivores, All right, Sunday I did slightly different things. So instead of the air fried beef fat trimmings, I had tallow deep fried chicken skins, which were delicious. All right, so I have about a pound of chicken skins cut up. These are from a place that sells pasture-raised chicken skins. So I have it set up in my deep fryer. Sounds so good. Set for 350, which is usually a pretty good temperature. Hello. Set the lid on top. All right, it's been about 10-12 minutes or so, and we have nice crispy chicken skins. Drain just a little bit. Yeah, look at that. I have no idea how my software will render this, but this is a picture of me at my kettlebell class on Sundays. So fun times there. There's me holding a 10-pound kettlebell just for fun. I actually had 2 kettlebell classes back to back on Sunday, so even more fun. So here I am preparing for the week ahead on the Blackstone. So I'm going to cook a couple pounds of bacon. I'd like to have those around just as snack in case I get hungry in between meals. which I usually don't, but in case I do, I like to have cold bacon on hand. Your Costco grass-fed 1/3 pound burger patties being griddled in bacon grease, which I cooked right before this. So this will be my mainstay for Monday through Friday this upcoming week. So not as prepared this week. I'm going to have to buy some more eggs in the middle of the week, and then I'm almost low on beef fat trimming, so I'm going to need to stop by the butcher and get some more, the following day and cut that up. But I show my couple pounds of bacon, burger patties. Those are going to form the mainstays of my meals Monday through Friday for the upcoming week. Save myself to the weekend where I like to get a little bit more adventurous.
Disturbing your lack of ketosis is.